Welcome back to another episode of Sound Pals Go to the Movies. This is another Throwback Thursday review, and today I'm going to be reviewing Easy Rider. And just a fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. Two bikers head from LA to New Orleans through the open country and desert lands, and along the way, they meet a man who bridges a counterculture gap of which they had been unaware. So let's begin with my first pro, the characters, and what they represent. Let's take Wyatt, played by Peter Fonda, and Billy, played by Dennis Hopper. They are both out seeking freedom and independence, but each one has a different definition of it. For Billy, it is money. It represents freedom and independence from not conforming to a normal job. Thus is why he sees the drug sale as his only way of achieving this goal. Billy wants money so he can buy anything he wants, anytime he wants, and be a consumer. So he isn't restricted by money or held back by his job's pay to dictate when he can buy things. While Wyatt wants to roam all across the country with no restrictions, no timetable, and find his own way. This is evident since the beginning of the movie when he takes off his watch and throws it away. He is not going to let time dictate his path or when he's going to get to his final destination. As far as the drug money, he sees it as a one-time thing. He went to get the money to fund his trip, but the trip is to find his place that provides the freedom and independence that he wants. He wants to find a little area like the rancher they came upon who said that when he was young, he was also headed to California, but he never made it. Instead, he settled there. Wyatt tells him he has a nice spread there and that it is not every man who can live off the land to do his own thing at his own time, and that he should be proud that he has achieved that. This is what freedom and independence looks like to Wyatt. Now, every time he ends up stopping at a motel looking for a room, they aren't available even though they have the money to pay. But this represents society. If you don't fit their idea of what a consumer looks like, they will reject you just because of the way you look. Once they meet up with George Hanson, played by Jack Nicholson, they meet someone that has grown up in the system and followed what society has told him to do, but yet he still seeks what Wyatt and Billy are looking for, which is freedom. But he also shares his opinion of what he has gone through and his point of view, which Wyatt understands and starts absorbing and analyzing from his point of view. But what is George's freedom? Well, it's to escape his reality, not forever, but maybe a little bit, and then return to his normal life, like a vacation. He is the hamster in the wheel that seems to keep running and just stopping for a break to just drink water, and he is out seeking something like everyone else in the world, but he can't put his finger on what he really wants. Next, the problems they come to and people they meet. Some are hostile, like townspeople. Just because they look different, they run him out of the diner without them getting any service, but they don't stop there. At night, they go seeking them and attack them, and eventually they kill George. But we also have the community where they had stopped before and eat and see how they live by growing their own foods and seeking a sense of community from like-minded individuals. At every stop, they see a different view of America and also a different mentality, which along with that comes a different definition of freedom and independence. But when you step back and you see the big picture, even if they speak of freedom, some are building walls and denying service to others. This is the reality of how views are being shaped and skewed. Now on to my cons. The film follows mainly two characters with simple camera shots, but one thing that I couldn't get around was the transitions they used in some shots. For example, the first night when they're camping outside, the transition from night to day is a simple back and forth from two simple stills, and eventually it turns into day. This kept happening over and over throughout the movie. I am used to seeing this when characters are having a bad dream or hallucinating, but here it's just a jump cut, and I couldn't wrap my head around why they were doing such a thing. Next, sometimes the dialogue was not timed perfectly, and you had this awkward silence that played between the characters. This seemed like the film wanted to make a point of distancing these two individuals or people's point of view, but I just couldn't make sense of it. Next point is the story, which based on today's standards, it has to flow and have a plot that is somewhat soft at the end, but this movie isn't that. It doesn't have a path. So for present viewers, this movie won't make sense, but you need to read into it deeper, because the reason it doesn't have a path is because it's representing the main character who doesn't have a path, but some won't see it that way and they will be turned off by the movie's lack of direction. Next point, George's death was kind of shocking, but if George would have said something before they fell asleep, maybe that what he was looking for and where he thought it might be before he died, that could have been a bigger impact for us as the audience, but also the characters. And then if they had a place that George wanted to go, not just the brothel, but something that represented his idea of freedom and independence, maybe they could have probably stopped by and checked it out. Also, the ending was fine, but if the people in the truck had more of a dialogue, it would have made it more impactful. I know they wanted to go with something like you never know who you might meet around the corner or something along those lines, but the way they represented these two people driving and just basically taking out the frustration on the main characters and coming back to finish the job didn't quite sit well with me. So my grade for this movie is going to be a solid 7 out of 10. I think this movie still holds up. This has many things that young people will relate to if they see it and read deep into it, to the point that even in every few decades, we question the freedom that is installed upon us and what society is dictating us to do. And this movie, therefore, will forever have its place in history that had said the question, what is freedom and how do you seek it? So that does it for this review of Easy Rider. Please join us next time where we're going to review Grease.
Sandy? Tell me about it, Stud.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can find our social media links below. And like always, keep watching movies.